Alright, hello and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Tonight we're going to be beginning our investigation of the latest case, the death of our poor Inspector Bob Belcher. You will never enjoy his fish and chips ever again. This looks like some kind of notice board or something, and it's absolutely covered in scraps of paper. Ah, Miss Naruhodo, look! This you mean? It's an autopsy report, isn't it? These are case notes here, and details of prison inmates. Yeah, in fact, they're all sort of documents that only a detective could normally acquire. What on earth went on in this room? Some old newspaper cuttings. Ah, this one here. Oh yes, the advertisement you mean, to the Redheaded League. But wait, why? What's that doing here? Whoever occupied this room is clearly interested in it for some reason. Excuse me. Oh, Inspector. Oh, sir. Poor man, he can't possibly be able to focus on investigating when he's so upset. Oh, it's a photograph stand. I suppose it must be a picture of one of Inspector Gregson's family members. Ah! What's the matter? Your eyes look like they're about to pop out of your head. They are! Look, Mr. Naruhodo! Quickly! Wait a minute! Why do I feel like this woman is familiar somehow? Because it's Jezebel Brett. We just didn't see her eyes because she always had her big ol' hat and mask. Of course she's familiar. We all met her this morning. Oh wait, no. Ah, it's Mrs. Vigil. This makes no sense. Why would there be a picture? Oh, okay. I guess since I hadn't been streaming for a few days, I must have forgotten. Well, I'll open up with an embarrassment. That could be entertaining, right? Well, to be frank, I've never ever been more stumped. I'm sorry to say, I have no idea either. So Mr. Vigil has been here. That's the most obvious thing to consider. Either that, or Gregson was hiding that he was Mr. Vigil the whole time somehow. An empty fireplace makes a room feel even colder than it would be otherwise, doesn't it? It's thick with dust, too. Look, I think it would be fair to say it hasn't been used in a very long time. In other words, whoever lived in this room must have been extremely hardy in cold weather. Or nobody lived here at all and merely visited when the occasion arose. I wouldn't like to say which is more likely. No, that's right. It's one or the other. Nothing particular of note. What's this? Oh, what's this? Took the words right out of my mouth, Rhino Skate. It appeared to be a little model policeman. It's rather charming, isn't it, in a way? Seeing as it's on the floor here, do you think it belonged to Inspector Gregson? It's a little hard to imagine Lord Van Zykes playing something like this. It's only about 8 centimeters tall. It would have to have fallen out of someone's pocket, I suppose. I think we should record as evidence just to be safe. Yes, I agree. It's rather delightful, after all, in a way. I'm gonna take a closer look at everything very soon. Ever since we came in here, I can't take my eyes off this thing. Oh, funny enough, neither can I. It's a hairpiece, it's a hairpiece, isn't it? It is! A bright red hairpiece. And I suppose the fact that it's right here next to where the body was found means we have to accept that Inspector Gregson wore wigs, doesn't it? And such a flame-colored red, too. Yes, it's a color we've come across very recently elsewhere, isn't it? So he was investigating the Redheaded League. Exactly, this is a vital clue, I'm sure of it. So I suppose this is where the victim... That's right, the rope is laid around the body to show exactly how it was found. Poor Inspector Gregson himself has already been taken away. And it would probably be under Dr. Scythe's scalpel by now, if not for what happened last week. From the shape of the rope, it would appear that Inspector was curled up in a ball. Why would he be in a fetal position? That would almost suggest he was in pain, the poor guy. Are you feeling alright, Mr. Naruhodo? You look like you've just seen a ghost. I know it's just a rope, but, well, it conjures up quite a terrifying image, that's all. Especially with that bloodstain next to it. Oh, I I do understand. In some ways, what we picture in our minds can be even worse than reality. Chisato-san is so strong, though. She's taken this far better than I am. The top of one of the candles in this candle holder has been completely blown off. Yes, there's wax splattered on the wall behind, look. So I suppose if a bullet had hit it, it does seem likely the bullet hit the candle, having been first passed through the inspector's body. Now that wax on the wall looks like blood to me. Candelabrum. Candelabrum from the wall along the Fresno street where the inspector was found dead. The top one appears to have been blown off. This also suggests that the others were worn down, and this is a really poorly maintained window. Somebody's very haphazardly nailed those boards over the broken glass, haven't they? You can't really even call that a window anymore. Well, if you remember the window in Mr. Natsume's room, that was totally blocked up with bricks. This one does at least still let in some light, so you could see through it. So you could say nothing more about it. I'm starting to feel even more sorry for Mr. Natsume now. And that's the... excuse me. Oh, I thought it was letting me tap on the heater. Welcome to Donald's and Great Beyond, Inspector. Don't worry, we'll look after things in the yard. I've interrupted some deep thoughts here, it seems. Alright, so the heater isn't important here. This is presumably the murder weapon, then. Oh my, it is real, I suppose? I think so. Guns are so rare in Japan. I really know very little about them. So what do I know for sure, Mr. Naruhodo? Fire a shot. No. If I did that, I'd be looking for a skilled lawyer to represent me in court. Slightly safer, just ask someone who might know, I think. Excuse me. Sorry, sir, I can't say a thing, sir. Too many tears, Right, perhaps I'd better leave you to your work then. Well, first things first, let's take a closer look at all of these clues we have ourselves. Ah, here we are. Now something important's gonna be behind it, isn't it? The helm of this charming policeman appears to be a little worse for wear. I'm not convinced about the charming part, but yes, you're right. The head part looks like it's been fairly heavily manhandled, almost as if someone enjoyed twisting it around and around for fun. Shall we try twisting it around and around too, for fun? Ah, what's that? It appears to be some sort of key, but it's tiny though. It couldn't be a key for a door, not at that size. So what is it for, I wonder? So this was actually a key in disguise. Looks like some sort of key. Yes, it does. It's very tiny and simple key. And what's a little key doing inside a figurine of a policeman in the first place? What's it for? Someone didn't want it to be seen as a key, that's for sure. That explains why they twist it for sure. I've always wondered what the underside of a hairpiece looks like. That doesn't surprise me at all, Mr. Naruhodo. You always want to see what lies beneath, don't you? I'm not sure that's quite how I'd put it. You must use lots of bird lime to keep that in place on your head, so it doesn't get blown off in a gust of wind, I mean. It might be a little inconvenient when you want to take it off again, though, don't you think? Alright, so we know that he was investigating the Redheaded League. It's possible they led to his death somehow. Candelabrum. Ah, there are some black marks here, look. Yes, they look like some sort of scorch marks. Perhaps the bullet struck the candle, do you think? It's only this candle that's been cracked in half, it seems. Yeah, I think you might be right. Firearms are rarely used by criminals in Japan, so I'm afraid I'm not particularly knowledgeable about them. But interesting, the fact that this was cracked in half here shows that it was shot long before the other two finished melting. So, the gunshot, the time between the gunshot and the body discovery is actually quite major. I suppose this must have been the murder weapon. Oh my. Is it real, I suppose? I think so. Guns are so rare in Japan. I really know little about them. Perhaps someone more familiar with firearms could shed a light on things here. Alright, we're gonna start with the incident here. I see, that's where the poor inspector was found, over there. Oh yeah, that's right, they said it was a single bullet what did him in. Apparently the bullet went right through him and struck the candle tree over there on the wall. Oh yes, it's blown one of the candles apart completely. And the gun users there on the floor. It's the Reapers, isn't no denying that. Wait, really? How do you know that? Oh, take it easy. I don't know what to do when you stare at me with them big white eyes. I'm only saying what I've heard. I don't know much about guns myself. There's some bigwig lawman or whatever said so. Why don't you ask him? Bigwig lawman, is it? Anyway, Fresno Street runs along under that window there. There were some street sellers just outside the gunshot. Oh, but I don't recall seeing anybody outside. Yeah, they've all been taken out of the yard for questioning, that's what. We're talking about the yard's legendary inspector here after all. They'll be getting a grilling. You think we might be able to speak with those street sellers ourselves? I doubt it. Lads of the yard will just want to know what you're snooping around for, and you'll be up for a grill and all. So we can't interview the witnesses prior to the case then, that's a shame. Crime scene here. Alright, what is this place then? Does anyone live here? Apparently it's being rented by some cove called Hugh Boone. Hugh Boone. Sounds not nearly as trustworthy as Hugh Man. That's sort of a here today, gone tomorrow name, isn't it? Yeah, he's what we call an unidentified person. We haven't been able to get in touch with him. So it's a John Doe. Well, judging from appearances, I'd have to say this place hasn't been lived in for a long time, if ever. Right, all the lights in the yard piled down to get stuck into the investigation. There's so little air, no one knew what to do with ourselves. I do wonder, yes, Mrs. Otto? Could it be this Hugh Boone is in fact Inspector Gregson himself? How could that be? Well, if he was investigating on his own, it's quite possible that he was in fact this was in fact some kind of secret office of his. I'd never even considered that. Oh, nice works. We're actually following a line of inquiry like that ourselves. You are? If you look around the room, you'll see there's a few things that hint at it. We should really investigate this place in detail. Yeah, it looks like Gregson was doing his own private investigation of the Redheaded League, and it's possible that that's caused it here, but well, the whole theme of this is that nothing is as obvious as it seems, and that goes right away from the very start, or from how many tiptoeing around the rules we had to do in order to get Giselle Brett nailed for murder, or at the start, because despite the treaty being, I think I mentioned it earlier, but while the treaty did lead to a lot of positive changes in Japan, it did have its own drawbacks, and one of them was that Britain absolutely was able to throw their weight around. So when they said you're not allowed to try her for this murder, that's all was to it. Unfortunately, nothing could be done, even though there was no question by that point that it was indeed her that did it. And of course, everyone talks about how great Britain is, but throughout most of it, most characters have been looking down on our protagonist here, for one reason or another. And even other countries have been mentioned to have taken in forensic science sooner than Britain has, so things definitely been a lot more complicated than they seem. Alright, Gina, what was Inspector Gregson doing here in the first place? It's entirely possible he was killed as part of his investigation of the Redheaded League, but the fact that the Reaper, that Von Zykes has been framed for it, almost implies this was to get rid of him. Two birds with one stone, I'd imagine. So the question we need to think about is from the very beginning. The core of the issue. Someone walking their dog outside. The dog doesn't like when other people walk their dog outside. But yeah, we have to go all the way beginning, and I think whatever the true purpose of the Redheaded League is going to be important here, because I'm putting aside the original Sherlock Holmes book that this is part of it, because while this game has taken a lot of things from those books, it has given its own creative spin on them, so that, well, obviously, so that anyone who's read the books doesn't automatically get everything spoiled. And I do like what they've been doing with it, I will be honest there. Alright, so what was Inspector Gregson doing in the first place? That's what I want to know. It's what, half a year since I got out of the prison. That's why I decided to give up diving and become a detective instead. Oh yeah, Mr. Sholmes twisted the inspector's arm to agree to take you as apprentice, didn't he? Something like that, I think. Anyway, the point is, I didn't really know much about the boss till then. But it turns out he's a bit of a legend at the yard. Oh goodness, really? They say he managed to solve some really tricky cases. Just like that. He did, huh? Yup, and ever since then he started going on all sorts of investigations. Always on his own. No one else at the yard even knows what half the cases he's working on are, apparently. Oh, so yeah, he has been doing his own independent investigation. But that's not how it's supposed to work, is it? So what was the legendary inspector doing in a dingy little room like this? I know he had a lot of respect for the Reaper and all. And look where it landed him. Respect for the Reaper? In what way exactly? I don't say as much. I take my hat off that fella, were his words. That's not how the general public feels, is it? Most people are terrified of the Reaper. Yeah, boss said that's exactly why he respected the bloke. Oh, the dogs need out. Give me a moment, please. Alright, looks like they didn't need to go out, but the water was running a little low, so I went in and replaced that. Hopefully they'll be fine. We'll see. I didn't realize Gregson held Von Zykes in such high regard, especially given Von Zykes ordered him to, broke the prosecution rules there. Or maybe that's precisely why. Because Gregson had to do a lot. Gregson's arm was twisted to following rules from Strongheart, but he didn't necessarily agree with going that far. And he appreciated that Von Zykes cared more about the truth than any silly thing going on in the background. He said something else to me and all. I don't need to worry about the Reaper, because he only goes after people what are bad. It kinda set my mind at ease when he said that. Right. Gino, what do you make of this? What's that, evidence? Worked out something about what happened, have you? Oh, no, not exactly. That's why we're trying to ask you. I ain't been long enough job to get all this deducting business down yet, but I swear I'm gonna get the person who did this the boss. Well, we need to go where Von Zykes is now. We need to hear exactly from him what happened that night. 1st of November, local prison, cell 1. Now, how many times have we seen a prosecutor in the prison? Some of the early games had it happen once, and there was one criminal prosecutor, as in the prosecutor was actually a hardened criminal in some of the more recent ones, but I guess it has been a while, hasn't it? But I don't remember if you defend him in that one or not. It's been a while, I guess. So it's true, he really was arrested. He's sitting with his back to the wall, reading something. I don't think he's even noticed it. Excuse me, Lord Van Zykes. Fancy meeting you here. The last place on Earth I'd like to be, with the last person on Earth I'd like to see. I couldn't very well not come. We heard what happened, that you, Inspector Gregson, was... Go home, this has nothing to do with you. Oh, but... Forgive me, Lord Van Zykes, but I must disagree. Inspector Gregson was very helpful to us on a number of occasions. We're indebted to him. At the very least, we owe it to him to find out the truth about his death. You must help us with our investigations, please. There is really nothing I can tell you. Were you just reading in the back of the cell there? Was it something related to the case? Oh, this. The yard isn't quite so cavalier with its information as to share case details with the suspect. This is a letter from an old acquaintance. Oh, and who might that be? Someone you know, as it happens. Albert Harebraines. Oh, of course, yes. I keep forgetting they went to the same university. And I would like to read my correspondence in peace. So let's get this over with, shall we? What was it you want to know? Strange. I mean, let's face it, Von Zykes never minces his words. They seem to have less bite than usual somehow. I guess because he knows he's no longer in a position of power at the moment. Well, let's start with the most obvious question. What exactly happened there? Can you at least tell us your side of the story, Von Zykes? What happened? How much do you already know? We know the inspector was shot dead in a small rented room on Fresno Street, and they were found there by the police when they arrived on scene and immediately arrested. We were told there was nobody else in the room, and that some witnesses heard the gunshot. Then you're well informed. And there's really nothing I can add. The truth is, I don't know what happened myself. Oh, but the gunshot. Obviously you didn't fire the gun, did you? I'm not in the habit of shooting the people I walk alongside, if that is your question. I also heard the noise. However, before I had a chance to investigate, I was apprehended by the arriving officers. So he doesn't actually know what happened. If I might ask, what were you doing in that place to begin with? I do not need to answer that. After all, you're not representing me. He's gonna need a lawyer, though. Well, first of all, let's ask a bit about Professor Harebraines' letter. After the trial, Professor Harebraines was supposed to go straight back to Germany, I thought. It's a letter to inform me of his safe arrival at home. I arranged a passage by sea and by rail. It is a relief, I must say. He must surely by now be out of reaches of the Reaper. Because the Reaper doesn't follow people abroad, you mean? Yes, so it seems, anyway. Yeah, in the last case they did speculate that the truly innocent may be spared the wrath of the Reaper, but it actually is looking more and more like it may just genuinely be a coincidence of some sort. I mean, yeah, it could be the ghost of his dead brother, or following him to enact justice. But of the people killed by the Reaper curse so far, those were actually murders of opportunity by completely unrelated people. I mean, McGilded was killed by Ashley Graydon in the one case, we know that for sure. And it was entirely because he had set up everything in case he hadn't been there, so that was basically an unrelated grudge. And, of course, Odie Asman was... He was intended to be killed by someone who he had screwed over long before he'd reached a Reaper case. But ended up murdered by someone he was already blackmailing, so... Hard to believe as it is, it does seem like it's just some kind of coincidences. But I suppose there's going to be a lot more to it than that very soon. Your stupid little friend, for example. He told me he was keeping well in Japan when I inquired the other day. Yes, that's right. He's an author now, happily working in Tokyo. So Professor Harebraines safely back in Germany. Yes. And it seems a bit odd that... oh yeah, the other person who has been spared the Reaper curse is Gina Lestrade. After all, she was not the one murdered here. Instead, she's the one investigating it since her mentor has passed away. We can ask him if this is his gun. Still exist. Hello, KV. I've been doing a lot of streams, yeah. Starting to get to the end of this game, but that's that makes it sound like it's going to be shorter than it actually is. The final case of any given Ace Attorney game is always really, really long. So this case and the one after it are going to be very long. Alright, just something I was hoping to ask your opinion about, that's all. It is a serious crime for the defense to attempt to extract information from the prosecution by illegal means. Alright, I get the message, but I don't see what's illegal about me asking. Alright, so I need to get him to agree to let me represent him in court first. Never get to catch you live, because you start streaming right... yeah, I do stream at some odd hours. That's for sure. That's why, in fact, that's one of the reasons I opened up that YouTube channel, so I can put my old archived stuff. I'm still catching up, though. Right now, I've... well, that's going to date the video to mention what's in there, but I did just start putting up the last of the Amori stuff, so... I should be able to catch up moderately soon, hopefully. If I can keep a consistent schedule for uploading, that'd be great. Alright, so who's going to be representing you in court, Von Zykes? Anyone other than you, I should imagine. Huh. Would I be right in assuming that you have no representation as of yet? Defense lawyers shine away from any trial involving the Reapers, I'm sure you know. But this is different. In my career, of all the defense I've prosecuted, only 19 have ever been acquitted. Of them, 16 subsequently died in mysterious circumstances. Questions will be asked now. Oh, surely not. I assure you, no defense lawyer will want to touch me at the end of a barge pole. And I do keep my VODs up on Twitch as long as Twitch allows, simply because I like that. Oh, I forgot I played Slime Rancher. Oh yeah, that was a very long time ago. Though unfortunately, I'm afraid... Oh yeah, that is around the time you first started showing up. Yeah, unfortunately my VODs only go all the way back to late 2020, so unfortunately I did miss out on a few, like the Danganronpa or the Zero Escape streams. I unfortunately can't recover those. But at least I should be able to have this one, and I was able to get some others like AI the Somnium files saved, so I should be in good shape there. And of course this will be going up once I reach up to it, but I'm trying to upload everything roughly in the correct order just so that it's archived properly. Yeah. I do like that YouTube is much better at organizing these than Twitch is. For Twitch you have to really go out of your way, even if I make playlists specifically for specific games. It's just... You can tell Twitch only really cares about live streams, which I do get it, but at the same time... a user-friendly way to handle VODs, because, like I said, I stream at very odd hours of the day, so a way for people who don't catch them live to see them would be nice. But at least YouTube is very good for that. I just have to make a new playlist for anything. I believe I've decided to make it for anything with 3 or more games. Yeah, the Somnium Files is a classic. Yeah, and I'm really glad that they're making a sequel. It's a really good one, and I'm glad they're continuing it. Oh, but you didn't actually have anything to do with those people's deaths, did you, Von Zykes? It's been 10 years now that I've been known as the Reaper of Bailey. Believe me, nobody wants to know the true identity of this killer more than I. However, things may come to an head before I have a chance to uncover the truth about that. What does he mean by that? So it appears our conversation has run dry. Hmm. The Plants vs. Zombie streams are on the VOD channel. Unfortunately, no. I also completely missed out on my Final Fantasy VII streams. Of all those, I was only able to recover one VOD. It was, however, of one of the most famous scenes in the game, and since it does have my raw initial reaction to that, I figured it was worth uploading. Likewise, I've lost basically all of my Hades streams, but I did have the final one with the extreme measures. It was a Hades run on it, so I figure I might as well upload that. So even though some of the VODs are incomplete, I'm trying to have as many of them as I can, and hopefully now I can make them more complete going forward. Do you have the tax evasion streams? Yes, but those are a lot more recent, so I still have a while before I can do that one. But yeah, I'm going to make a list for one-off games. So ones like that one, no delivery, and anything else that's only one or two it's only 1 or 2 days worth of streams are probably going to just go into a one shots playlist. So hopefully that'll be interesting. I've got a few of those even planned. And without spoiling, I do have a Halloween special in mind that I'm hoping to get done. But I have a lot I'm hoping to do this month, so for better or for worse, I may actually end up having to make a quick hiatus on this game, just to make sure I at least start everything I want to. Because if you recall, during October, I try to do something a bit different. Since my birthday's in this month, I try to do a game that's special to me from my past. So, this one is actually on the VOD stream, but Sweet Home was one I did before because that was one of the few survival horror games I've really liked over the years, and it's also got a reputation of its own for being what led to Resident Evil. So I figured that was a good one, and that one is on my YouTube channel, so you can find it there if you want to check that one out. I did have some trouble editing it, though, one of the episodes, though. I guess I still have a lot to learn about video editing, but oh well. Alright then. And yeah, before that, it was Carol Blaster, since that's made by the same person who made Cave Story, another game that's very special to me, but unfortunately I don't have that VOD. Oh well. Oh, there was a 2-second silence, that's all. Well, in any event, if you'll excuse me now, I wouldn't like to detain you. I was wondering, Van Zykes, if you'd like, I'd be happy to advocate for you. You trust me, do you? Yes. I've heard you speak many times in court. I've seen how you treat people, so I'm quite sure that you would never have taken another's life. It's just my feelings can't be used as evidence in a court of law, sadly. It is a very gracious offer, however, I trust no one. Not the police, not the judiciary, and not you, Japanese. Oh, but please. I have no intention of engaging your services. The chasm between us is just too wide and too deep, it seems. Yeah, last time we found out the hard way that his brother was murdered by a Japanese man, so... Not to say that this forgives his feelings towards the Japanese, absolutely not. But you at least get an idea of where it comes from. Hopefully we can change his mind by the end of the game, though. I'd appreciate it if you do not visit me again, then neither of us will waste any more time. Perhaps we need to dig a little deeper, then, and find out more about Von Zykes, and what happened to Inspector Gregson. The fact he doesn't trust anyone implies to me that even he knows this goes deeper than it looks on the surface. The Lord Chief Justice. Unfortunately, I do genuinely believe the Lord Chief Justice here is in on whatever happened. 1st of November, British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm getting too many vibes that remind me of the police chief from the original trilogy. I do not trust Strongheart at all. You've made good time. I took an express train back to London. I can hear Lord Strongheart, can you? Yes, it sounds as though he's talking to someone. It's Cosma. Is everything in place? I had a private compartment on the train so I could check all the paperwork. It's Kazuma! Ah, your timing's impeccable. It is? No doubt you have heard the sickening news about the Reaper's latest devilry. Yes. I'm sure you don't believe it, of course, though, Lord Strongheart. That Lord Von Zykes could have done such a thing to Inspector Gregson. I believe only in the facts. And the facts in this case point to one thing. The unavoidable accusal of Lord Van Zykes of this crime. Whispering charges against the Reaper for taking the life of our legendary detective. Yeah, but this wouldn't make sense if he was the Reaper killing people. After all, Gregson was never arrested or anything. He got in trouble before, but that was for following Strongheart's orders. I doubt he got even more than a slap on the wrist for that. Oh, surely not. It is truly a regrettable situation. Tomorrow, the Forensic Science Symposium finally begins. At the very least, though, we can show the world our justice system's swift and equitable processes. Does that mean the trial is tomorrow? Precisely. In fact, this is a fine opportunity for introductions. Kazuma. Ah, but of course, you are already acquainted, aren't you? Mr. Asoge will be present at tomorrow's proceedings, leading the prosecution. Wait, what? Kazuma? As I'm sure you're aware, he's a very capable practitioner of law. Kazuma-sama, a prosecutor? Tomorrow's trial. I'm sure you can imagine that tomorrow's trial will be very closely followed all over London. In fact, no. People all over the Empire will be watching closely to see how it unfolds. There's no salvation for anyone in the trial prosecuted by the Reaper Bailey, and now, the Reaper himself must stand in the dock. Quite so. The public wants answers about the Reaper. Answers about how or why those who escaped conviction were subsequently died mysterious deaths. Lord Van Zykes firmly denies any involvement in any such matters. And the police investigated and didn't find anything. Yeah, in fact, Rhino Skate right here is on the same level, on the same page as me. And there have been thorough investigations that have proven him to be innocent. That certainly is true, or it has been at least until now. No, tomorrow's trial will mark the very start of a new chapter in our country's great judicial history. Prosecutor Asogi, this is obviously something we need to ask immediately. So, Kazuma will be prosecuting tomorrow? That is right. Oh, but he's defense lawyer, Lord Strongheart. Accomplished young law practitioners cannot always pick and choose their roles. As I imagine what that will mean for the prosecution to know and I imagine what it will mean for the prosecution to know the strategies commonly employed by the defense. A devastating combination, wouldn't you agree? Well, I guess it only makes sense Von Zykes cannot prosecute himself, so absolutely, I have no doubt at all that Kazuma will be razor sharp as a prosecutor. But why Kazuma-sama? There's surely many other highly skilled prosecutors in Great Britain. It was a personal request. I asked to be assigned to the trial. You asked for this, but why? It'll all become clear tomorrow. I'm guessing you intend to stand for the defense, don't you? That's why. Although the Reaper appears to be turning down all offers of representation. I'm surprised such a personal request would have been upheld. It seems unprecedented. Quite exceptional, in fact. That's right. You are quite right, Miss Mikotaba. Tomorrow's trial will be absolutely unprecedented and exceptional in every possible way. After all, the accused is one of Britain's greatest prosecutors, the pride of the Empire. It would be unwise to give the public a reason to perceive this as the judiciary closing ranks. So that's why you're happy to let a foreigner handle the prosecution? Rhino Skate, let's see how well your skills have been honed. After practicing law in this land for so many months. Kazuma, I don't understand why you're being so hostile to me now. This isn't going to end well, my friend. Oh, yes, we noticed that there was a gun at the scene of Inspector's death. Do you know if it belongs to Van Zykes or not? Well, that would be a question for the lead detective investigating the scene. Well, the thing is, she wasn't sure, so she told me I should ask someone higher up who might know. Oh, that's right, Mr. Naruhodo. Be direct. Be direct, just don't ask a loaded question. You have to be careful of that. It's certainly a model that's issued to all personnel involved in law enforcement, yes, which includes prosecutors, as I'm sure you can imagine. So it could also be Gregson's gun, since he's also law. In that case, oh yeah, Susato has the exact same thought I did. It could have actually belonged to the victim as well. No, Gregson had his gun on his person. Oh, well, at least that's one idea we can take off the list. What about Lord Van Zykes? He claims it's currently not in his possession. What? According to his story, he lost it. In short, it's more than a little suspicious. Oh, but just because the gun questions the same type as the defendant's is not proof that's actually his all by itself? No, of course it is not. Nevertheless, the situation is grave for Lord Van Zykes. Alright, we can examine him to speak with him. I'm sorry for all the worry I've caused you, but he'll be alright now. Has your memory completely returned? Yes, completely. I remember everything. Including what I was coming here to do, right? Cosmo-sama, I can't tell you how happy I am to see you alive and well like this. But how did you come to be here in London when you were suffering from amnesia? It was the voice. This past year, I've been here in my head constantly, saying the same thing over and over. Go to London. That is where your destiny awaits. It was that voice that guided me here to London. I'm so sorry for what's happened. Anyway, my memory might have returned to me, but there's something that won't return the way it was before. What do you mean, exactly? I'm a prosecutor now, so I'm sure our paths will cross again very soon. Is that why I took this case, specifically hoping he'd go up against us? Doesn't look like we're going to be able to glean much more here. Alright, well thank you very much, Lord Strongheart. Remember, tomorrow's trial will go down in our Empire's history. There is much you could learn from the public gallery. That is oddly specific. Sorry to have taken so much of your time. We'll see ourselves out.
Hold it!
Alright, before you go, Rhino Skate. Oh, what is it, Cosma? I just wanted to thank you. Cosma, what? You took my determination to heart and brought it with you over the ocean in my stead. And you carried out my role to perfection. You always were intent on studying British law to change our own justice system. It was your dream. Mr. Naruhodo didn't want that to die with you. Yes, but I had another purpose for coming here. Oh, is he finally gonna tell us? No, he's not, is he? I actually have a favor to ask, which is, this trial I'll be prosecuting tomorrow. I'd like you to be there to see how it ends, right in front of me, as the defense counsel. Why? What's this all about? I know you have what it takes. Oh, but Van Zykes would never put his fate in my hands. On the contrary, he recognized your talent. He does? It's not easy to see behind the facade sometimes. Here, have a look at this. Oh, that's him when he was younger. You can see his brother and Gregson. Oh, that's Van Zykes and Inspector Gregson in a photograph that must have been taken some time ago, by the look of it. And who's the third person? It was displayed very prominently in the detective's office. In Gregson's office, you mean? Yes, what I'm trying to say is, if you really think you can trust the Reaper, you might find that some straight talking makes him take a different view. Take it. I don't understand. Why are you giving me this? Just hurry, Rhino Skate. Visiting hours of the prison are almost over. What are you doing, Kazuma? Yeah, when she says I don't think we've been here in some time, that means we need to go back there for whatever reason. 1st of November, local prison, cell 1. Lord Van Zyke's still reading that letter. Must be very special to him. You've been gone quite some time, though. Either he's an incredibly slow reader, or it's an incredibly long letter. I might even be able to read English faster than he can. I think it's more obvious that it's very sentimental to him, so he wants to... I was intending to ignore you entirely. But I can't turn a deaf ear to such an insulting Japanese. Oh, sorry, I didn't think you'd hear that. I had the Kate's notes brought to me here in secret. I was reading them to pass the time. Yeah, we'd heard your trial set for tomorrow. Which is none of your business. So, have you found a lawyer? How many times must I reiterate the same thing? This has nothing to do with you. In other words, no. We were just talking to Lord Strongheart, and the prosecutor for your trial has been decided. I'd expect nothing less, though I have no idea who it is. It's going to be Kazuma Asogi. Asogi? That made the color drain from his face. Well then. It seems I'm going to have to engage in conversation with you again after all. Alright, first things first, Asogi. 10 years ago, my older brother, who was the director of prosecutions at the time, was murdered. And the killer, as you know, was a visiting student from the Far East. Not a single day goes by when I don't curse that name, Asogi. Genshin Asogi was Kazuma-sama's father. He left a very lasting impact. I'm probably going to use that as a stream title at some point. I'm just going to warn everyone now. That is just way too easy of clickbait to not use. It's probably not going to be a big deal for Twitch specifically, but on YouTube it might certainly get some people noticing. So, what a cruel twist of fate it is now, 10 years later, the man's sons to crucify me in some sort of kangaroo court. I still don't understand why Lord Strongheart apprenticed Kazuma to you. It's what he does. No doubt he knew of the young man's true identity from the outset. What could he have been hoping to achieve? And let's not forget it was only 8 days ago Kazuma recovered from his amnesia. Why would Lord Strongheart assign this trial to somebody like that? Asogi, that name is the very epitome of my bane. The bane that is you Japanese. Right, your hatred of all of us Japanese. Let's ask him about his gun, first of all. About the gun used to shoot the inspector that was found. Ah, yes. That is not mine. Really? Because common opinion seems to be that it is. What do you expect me to say to that? He does have a good point. Lord Strongheart informs us that you claim to have misplaced your firearm. As embarrassing as that is, I'm afraid it is true. When did you lose it, then? That? I'm afraid I do not know. Oh. I was issued with a revolver when I first became a prosecutor 10 years ago. I must have stowed it somewhere, I suppose. Or left it, perhaps. So he never uses it. He just carries that sword well, he doesn't have the sword with him right now, but he does have it when he's actually prosecuting, likely as a status symbol. You have something in common with Lord Van Zyke's after all, Mr. Naruhodo. A talent for misplacing things. No, this has nothing to do with me. Don't drag me into it. Don't make the mistake of associating me with this Japanese. Oh dear. The rift is very wide, isn't it? So it's not decisive evidence, at the very least. But it still doesn't look good. Yeah, it looks like the case here is mostly circumstantial, but it's a strong circumstantial one. It's circumstantial enough that there's not much reasonable doubt unless we can use some hard evidence for this. Greggson's transfer to the Paris police prefecture have been finally been arranged for the coming month, but he'll never make it to France now. It is a tragedy. Oh yes, come to think of it, he did mention something about that, didn't he? I wonder, does it happen often, being transferred internationally, I mean? It's the first time I've ever encountered it myself. The Paris police welcoming an English detective is almost inconceivable. Right, because France and Britain have a very, very huge rivalry. I can't imagine what kind of magic Gregson must have worked to put that arrangement in place. Sounds like this mystery has even the Reaper perplexed. I'm afraid to say that we were very ignorant about the Inspector Gregson's standing. We hear that he was considered something of a legend at Scotland Yard. Again, it was 10 years ago he first made a name for himself by uncovering the decisive piece of evidence that exposed the professor's true identity. If it wasn't for Gregson's singular approach to the case, the discovery would have never been made. What sort of approach? After my brother's life was taken, the inspector pushed for a full autopsy. Oh my, 10 years ago. Why is that surprising? Autopsy was considered a desecration of the body at the time and rarely performed. And my brother was, of course, a noble. That made the idea of it even more unthinkable. But something Gregson had dug up in his investigations made him determine it was necessary. His powerful conviction somehow influenced the House of Lords, and as a result, I could avenge my brother's death. So, you must have had great confidence in the inspector's abilities then. It's even more inconceivable that you would have taken his life. I don't have confidence in anyone. I'm sure Gregson felt the same way. I've no doubt he thought of me only as the ominous Reaper, just like the rest of England. What really went on between Lord Van Zykes and Gregson, I wonder? What was the true nature of their relationship? The Japanese Bane. I'd only just been appointed as prosecutor when it happened 10 years ago. My brother Clint, the director of prosecutions, was hunting down a mass murderer, a so-called professor. Assigned to the investigation as his partner was a certain visiting student dispatched from Scotland Yard, and that was Genshin Asogi. Exactly. I developed a deep respect for the man. He seemed noble-minded and chivalrous to the extreme to me, but none of us saw the true nature of the man. So I lost everything when it happened. My esteemed brother, the people I believed in. Any semblance of right prevailing over wrong. Oh, how awful. To avenge my brother, I prosecuted in Asogi's trial. I wouldn't ordinarily have been allowed, but I beleaguered the ascribed prosecutor until he consented. What do you mean by the ascribed prosecutor? The man in charge of the professor case inquiry, Lord Mail Strongheart. I imagine Mail Strongheart as they're supposed to be like Maelstrom, and he certainly seems to have that kind of impact. However, I still don't trust him. I think he's the mastermind behind all of this. He was a highly accomplished prosecutor, but he agreed to relinquish the trial to me and act as my advisor instead. Since that time, he's the one person who I've felt indebted. I'm sure he must have seen your zeal for the case and recognized your potential as a prosecutor. Anyway, the time passed, but then earlier this year, who should arrive in London but you? Ah. And of all things, as a lawyer. I felt your animosity the first time I faced you in the courtroom. Yeah, the fact our first case against him was McGilded was no doubt absolutely intentional. Lord Strongheart had said that he knew there was pretty much no way we could lose the case, and he was correct. He knew that McGilded was going to corrupt it and make sure we can't lose. And I imagine he knew that that would just stoke the fires of Von Zykes' racism. Your obvious deep loathing of us Japanese. I kept telling myself it was illogical, but for so many years that hatred has festered inside me. I could no longer control it, and I can understand why now that I know the history. But in the same way I've long felt the Japanese to be the bane of my life. To Kazuma Sogi, I'm the bane of his. The Reaper who sent his father to the gallows. He's looking for revenge, and he intends to take it in the court tomorrow. Now we have to present him this photo. He's not going to like it, but we absolutely must. Lord Van Zykes, we came by this old photograph. Where did you get that? It was taken when I became a qualified prosecutor. It's almost unbelievable. I assumed it was long lost. Is the man left there? Yes, that is my brother, Clint. It had to be, really. Yeah, that was pretty obvious, but it's good to have confirmation all the same. Speculation, even if well-founded, is nowhere as good as absolute confirmation. Apparently, this picture was prominently displayed in Gregson's office. He had a deep respect for you, you know. Were you aware of that? Respect? That's nonsense. No, we've heard someone attest to it very clearly. Inspector Lestrade, no less. So, in other words, that means he said it recently. It's not something he did years ago and could potentially change his mind. Well, maybe once, yes. There was a time when things were like that. We were brothers in arms, jovially discussing the future of justice and other such lofty subject matter. That was a nice glimpse of the past, I thank you. I feel as though I got a nice glimpse of the past then, too. There was a glimmer of light in his eyes, a brief twinkle, an insight into the true nature of this man, known as the Stone Cold Reaper Bailey. Hello, Kyo. Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, that's the first time he's ever used my actual name. I've lost all confidence in my country's justice system. I do not trust the police, the judiciary, or lawyers. Alright, yeah, sounds like you will want to... Yeah, if you're feeling exhausted and your stomach's hurting, you should absolutely take a rest. Don't be afraid to take a nap if you have the time to do so either. That might help as well. But there's still one thing I'm willing to believe in. And what is that? That which you see in the eyes of another across the courtroom. A simple determination to know the truth. Ah, Lord Van Sykes. From the very first time we clashed the Bailey almost a year ago now. I couldn't deny it, even though I dearly wished I could. Here is a loathsome Japanese, who has absolute integrity as a lawyer. There are only two other men I've known with that same look in their eyes. My brother, Clint, and Genshin Asogi, the man he idolized, the man who betrayed his trust in most hideous way. When you showed me that photograph just now, it reminded me... You mean this one? Back when I was able to laugh, I was free of the shackles of mistrust that plagued me now. I looked to the future with hope. Since then, I protected myself against betrayal by refusing to trust anyone. But at times, the mire into which I've sunk makes it almost impossible to breathe. I'm so sorry. So, Mr. Naruhodo, I want to believe that in that look in your eyes, I need to believe in it. In tomorrow's trial, will you advocate for me? Of course I will. It would be an honor. I'm so pleased, Mr. Naruhodo. Then my life is in your hands. For Lord Van Sykes, that must have been an incredibly hard thing to ask. Which is why I simply cannot let the man down. Tomorrow, in the Old Bailey, against my old friend, Cosma. This is going to be a bit of a rough trial. We did a lot of investigating, but we weren't allowed to interview the witnesses to see what they knew. And we have very little evidence that we were able to find. The room was almost completely empty. We have to find out who killed Inspector Gregson and why they would frame the Reaper of Bailey for it. Well, there's that old familiar feeling again. The crushing pressure of this historic courthouse. Actually, no, it's a little different today. There's even more menacing tension in the air. There's a menacing tension in the air here today, isn't there, I suppose? Yeah, I think so. It can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant. Hey, a little more courtesy, if you please. Oh my, I do apologize. However, you're certainly not mistaken, this trial is far from ordinary. What do you mean? I'm not privy to the details, however, I understand that no jury has been selected. A trial without a jury? Well, that's just like the trial with the professor 10 years ago. A closed courtroom. Good morning, my dear fellows. Mr. Sholmes. Have you made note of my hair, Mr. Narod? An outright victory for science, you must agree. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, well, I completely forgot about your little hair problem. Ha! But to one man is a little hair problem is to another day of drinking dubious potion after dubious potion. You have no idea how much my stomach ails me this morning. Yeah, basically he used a potion thing to change his hair to a natural shade of red to infiltrate the Redheaded League, but since they knew who he was by his reputation, he wasn't able to get the information needed, so he spent the rest of the day trying to change it. Powerful for you. And obviously we know the Redheaded League is somehow tied to this case somehow. I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you looking so full of vim. And I see London's celebrated great detective as active as ever. Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow. Compared to my paltry engagements with a few trivial cases, Reaper's overbearing presence is a far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. Yeah, Von Zykes did mention that once he got his reputation for being the Reaper, the crime rates overall went down a pretty good amount. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point in which I would readily commend you. What an honor, and that would be? Your eye for a good lawyer, sir. Mr. Sholmes? After all, behind this lawyer is a very great mind. My own. What are you trying to say? I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Sorry to barge in. Gina. What's that on her arm? It's a mourning band, I suppose. Oh, Father! Shouldn't you be at the symposium? It has been postponed, so I have free time. I've decided to come along with the police inspector to see our country's up-and-coming student in action. I shall be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year. Well, it's an honor to have you there. Let's hope that there are some fruits to see. Odo. Yes, Gina. Why'd you agree to this, Why'd you take him on? This Reaper bloke. Everyone says it was him what killed the boss. I'm sorry, Gina, but I just don't believe that. Well, if it weren't him, who was it? I don't know that yet. I don't care who calls him what. Reaper's just a name. It's just a person at the end of the day. And if it turns out it was him that killed the boss, then God help him. Fiery eyes, indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loathing. Eh? At least that may be some solace to the deceased. Gina only takes her hat off when things get real. Please, Odo. Get whoever did this for the boss. Oh, Gina. I hate feeling this useless, but there's nothing I can do. So you gotta find who's done this and make the wretch pay. Call to the defense and the defendant. Court will be in session shortly. Make your way to the courtroom at once, please. Alright then, here we go. Well, it is time, Mr. Naruhodo. Lord Von Zykes. One who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer. One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution. All that misfortune, all that pain, on course to collide headlong in this trial. It's time to shine a light on all these dark events. And whatever truth is revealed, we're going to have to look it straight in the eye. 2nd November, 9:20 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. I'm gonna grab a drink real quick. My throat's getting a bit dry here. Alright, that feels a lot better already. Got myself a tasty soda for tonight. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here to conduct a fair and just trial of the defendant, Barak von Zykes. Counsels the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin? The defense is ready, my lord. Prosecution is more than ready. Oh, Kazuma. I've been wishing to see you in court again for so long, it feels. But I never pictured it happening like this. I never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecution's bench. Yeah, last time we found out that Kazuma here actually survived the attempt at his life on the ship and somehow escaped. Well, it turned out it was with the help of Sholmes, who lied to everyone and just said he was dead. And he found his way to London because he was, well, as he said, he was determined to get here somehow, and he was working as von Zykes' apprentice until now. So-called Reaper of the Bailey has been a scourge like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today we must uncover the truth behind the scourge. In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than just Inspector Gregson's murder. The truths revealed by these proceedings may have unprecedented repercussions throughout the judiciary. Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial with no members of the public present, by Her Majesty's direct orders. How will that work, my lord? The burden of all arbitration and adjudication falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, the juror's bench shall remain vacant today. Oh, I actually like the jury system this game added. The franchise has been, I mentioned it before, but the franchise has been suggesting a jury system of sorts, but they'd never really made it a direct gameplay thing like here, and I've actually liked it. It adds an extra layer of complexity to the proceedings of the court cases, while not feeling like filler, because not only do we have to convince them not to declare the victim guilty on an individual basis, but we can even use them and their feelings to establish other things that we can use later on the trial. Well, it's a really good system. I hope future games continue to adopt it. Alright, if no members of the public are present, may I ask who is currently occupying the gallery? There are members of the judiciary here to witness proceedings and ensure an equitable trial. So, members of the judiciary. Oh my, this is a very unusual trial already. Seems we're back to as we were at the very start, the very first game in this duology, in which we were in a closed court case with no members of the public. There is, of course, another unprecedented act of the proceedings on which I must elaborate. The counsel's prosecution and defense are both aliens of Great Britain. Ooh, welcome back, KV. Oh, I love shrimp. Hope it was delicious. I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes. And as I stand here in the courtroom now, I'm quite certain there's the reason why I had to come to Britain. Cosma? Let's look log here. This is the reason I had to come to Britain, yeah. Obviously, they want us to think it's to avenge his father, but, I mean, we saw him ruin Madame Two-Spell's wax figure, which, I mean, I imagine she's going to be sending the bill for that to someone. It's not going to be, it's probably going to be us, because that's how that works here, so. Cats also had shrimp? Do the cats like shrimp? I guess they would. They are meat eaters, after all. Prosecutor Sogi, your opening statement, if you please. Certainly, my lord. The incident took place on the 1st of November after just 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building of flats on Fresno Street, on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there in an old, single-room rental property. Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson, a name known very well indeed to this court. Not least for his miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest cases 10 years ago. The Professor case. How sure are you about the time of the incident? Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot, and all have reported the same time. Yeah, that's what Gina told us too. There were a number of witnesses, apparently. I have a plan of the room. Yeah, as we see, this room is completely empty. There's very few clues here. Okay, so we can confirm the blackboard here. You can see my mouse cursor, right? The blackboard victim was found here. It's believed it was shot from point-blank range and died instantly. Yeah, we can see the blackboard up here that was tracking the Redheaded League case. The fact this was here means that Gregson was probably doing his own cats enjoy seafood. I know they enjoy fish, I just wasn't sure if they like crustaceans as well. How was the range determined? There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks are caused by gunpowder used to fire the bullet. But powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the edge of the barrel. In other words, it only happens when the target is at point-blank range. Oh, I see, yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Counsel. Autopsy report. We're definitely going to have to take a look at this. The murder weapon was found lying beside the victim. And have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm? No, not conclusively, anyway. Bravo, Cosmo-sama, for not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance can't be proven. Furthermore, my lord, as I've explained, it looks like one of the toy pistols. Potentially, yeah. So this is the type of revolver that's standard issue for members of the judiciary, then? Yes, when I asked where the records are kept about who they're issued to, I was told that for the past 5 years, they've been engraved with unique serial numbers. Oh, but as far as I can tell, there is nothing like that on this gun, which tells us that it must have been issued longer ago than that. Okay, so this gun was issued more than 5 years ago. And they already confirmed that it's not Gregson's gun because Gregson was found with his gun on his person and it wasn't fired. As explained, the gun was fired at extremely close range. The victim passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There's a candelabra mounted on the wall, and the tip of one of the candles in it was found to have been blown off by the projectile. Yeah, the fact that this one's so much longer than these two implies this was shot off and then the other two burned down over time. So I think the time of death might be a bit off if we can use this, but we'll see. We noticed that too, didn't we? Yeah, that's right. Thank you for your thorough report, Counsel. The setting of this crime is very clear to me. You'll submit the plan of the crime scene as evidence, if you please. As you wish, my lord. Crime scene floor plan's been entered the court record. Alright, is this Fresno Street Inspector Gregson's private abode? No, my lord. The room is rented to a Mr. Hugh Boone. But there's precious little furniture inside, and it's generally in a poor state of repair. So what on earth was Gregson even doing there? Presumably he was investigating some case or the other. It's possible he went in there with an alias and was using it as a sort of private area. When a policeman was informed of the gunshot from the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside, holding the revolver. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot. Alright, so the details of the case are clear. In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. A name, please, counsel. Naturally. The accused himself. Lord Van Zykes. As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of office he's taken, and will be compelled to tell the truth. Very well, the defendant take the witness stand. Alright, witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Barak von Zykes, Old Bailey prosecutor. I presume, Lord Van Zykes, that you heard Prosecutor Sogi's opening presses? I did. It is alleged you were found at the scene of the crime, and that you were arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this? Yes, my lord. And I'm sure the court would like to hear you explain some things away. Namely, why you were there in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question. And what exactly took place. I intend to explain away nothing. I'll simply tell the truth. I must say, Lord Van Zykes, I never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come. But since you've become known as the Reaper, part of me has been dreading it. Your formal testimony then, witness? Witness testimony. The facts of the incident. I was investigating Gregson. My inquiries had led me to that address. When I first encountered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of the Inspector Gregson appeared before me. That testimony was the whole truth? It was. So, you heard a shot being fired in a room with no living occupants. And moments later, a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes, that it? You're right, you haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would barely qualify as an excuse. I thought you were my mute apprentice. Yet it turns out you have a way with words. Prosecutor Asogi. Prepare to be a singular tale indeed. That singular isn't the word, it's laughable. What's gotten to Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all. Very well then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination. Yes, my lord.
Hold it!
Alright, we're gonna press him on everything here. You're investigating the inspector? What on earth for? I am not at liberty to say. I'm sorry. I'd identified a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved with the case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed. Is the court to understand, then, that on the day in question you followed the victim to the scene? No, I was privy to his movements in advance. How? I stole into his office at the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry. You illegally entered the man's office? In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense. As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Is that not the case, Lord Van Zykes? I was aware of the possible consequences. So in summary, you were investigating the victim. And yet you refused to tell the court why? I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath. Why did I ever think I could defend this man? First entered the room, it was dark inside and I saw no one.
Hold it!
Well, if it was dark, it's possibly couldn't see the body. Have you ever been to this address before? No, never. I only learned of the place as a result of my investigation into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything. But at 5 p.m., the sun would have only just gone down, and it would still have been reasonably light outside. The room has a window, but it was boarded shut. Very little light found its way into that room from the outside, so it was extremely murky. I wouldn't have noticed if the victim was already lying on the floor. There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure? I'm quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling that there was a small oil lamp burning the desk, though I couldn't say for certain. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. There's indeed a small desk in the room just there. Yeah, I remember. There was an oil lamp on it as well as a framed photograph. When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and I started towards the desk to investigate. And what did you find? Nothing. I never actually reached the desk. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. So, do you know who fired the gun? Got emotes now? Oh yeah, I commissioned an artist to get some emotes, so I have some for both bit donations and as well as subscriber tiers. So yeah, I'm starting to feel like a real streamer now. I have no idea. I I didn't see anybody else in the room. But you say it was very dark in there. Yes, that is right. All I can tell you is I didn't sense another's presence. Ah, and it could be? The gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room? No, that's not the question. Oh. Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder. This is going from bad to worse. And you say that's the point at which... Wait, there's a 1K bits mode? I thought I only had it at the minimum. Let me check something real quick. Correct, I foolishly picked it up. That was carelessness on my part. Yeah, unfortunately, this is actually fairly common. Well, if someone has a reason to believe a gun has been fired in the room and they see a gun on the ground, most people will instinctively pick it up just, you know, to be safe in case the killer's still there. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, check it now. Yeah, bits tier. I can put an emote at 1K, 5K, and 10K, but I don't expect people to donate that many, so I just put them here. I also have a few extra emotes because it's possible to unlock more emote slots over time, so I figure I end up getting a decent batch from the artist that made these, so I should be able to gradually add more. Looks like the way it works is I get more emote slots if I get more subscribers. I doubt there'll be too many of those, but I'm prepared if it ever happens at least. Now this month spent $130 on plushie pre-orders. Well, they better be the most adorable plushies, Ukyo. Then again, if they're anything like your Lopmon plushies, then they should be adorable. Presumably then, the gunshot you heard came from the firearm you somewhat hastily took into your hands. In a point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not. What? The whole set of Genshin Slime plushies. Huh. The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold and there was no smell of spent gunpowder. Oh, but then, where on earth is the gun that was fired? Also, I would like to oblige you with an answer. I'm afraid I can't. I too would dearly like to know that. Like the laughing emote is. Oh, yeah, I tried to make the subscription ones the ones that you'd probably see used most often, and I usually see the laughing emotes and the heart emotes used most often, so I tried to make those pretty early so that anyone who wants to subscribe won't have to work very hard to get them. Oh, I see them now, Ukyo. Yeah, they're cute slime plushes. They almost kind of remind me of the Slime Rancher plushies now that I think about it. What about slimes makes me even save on shipping because I can collect them so myself. Oh, that's nice to hear. Hold it! Alright, a man screamed. A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I would assume? That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street. Who are these merchants? A number of them had set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window in the crime scene. A match seller, a news owner, and a peddler. They've all been given statements saying they heard the gunshot. Around 15 centimeters cubed. Oh. I don't remember how much that would be in feet or inches before, but I'm pretty sure I have a good idea of how big they are, since I know there's some... I can think of some at a similar size to that. Man, it's been too long since I've gotten some anime apparel. I should probably see about getting a new figurine or something, just because I haven't fully embraced the weeb in a while. And without the thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened. Yeah, Gina's told that about us yesterday, didn't she? They burst through the door with some force, and it would seem they did, and almost gave me a heart attack in the process. Yeah, around 5-6 inches, that sounds right. Oh, but you're supposed to be the Reaper. The first man came and immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled. And a policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion and was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred. Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction. It was then when I found the body. So that's Von Zykes' account. Do you have any thoughts, Mr. Naruhodo? Yeah, mainly that it really doesn't ring true in all sorts of ways. Who fired the gun if there was nobody else there, and how did the corpse just appear in front of him? So you think Von Zykes is lying? No, I don't think that. I mean, if he was going to lie, I would expect him to have come up with a more credible story, wouldn't you? Yeah, I completely agree. I think he genuinely doesn't know what happened himself, so we must do what we can to fill in the gaps. Yeah, first and foremost, we need more information, so in other words, we need to press him.
Hold it!
What do you mean by just appeared before you? In what way did the body appear? I honestly cannot explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point. Then suddenly, there it was. Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand? At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and the scream of the man who came inside first, nothing more. I see, so it's possible he didn't fall from the higher floor. After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find that it was Gregson. Most curious circumstances indeed. How the inspector was killed or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere. I'm afraid I have no idea. Surely the court has heard enough. Lord, the cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused, Barak von Zykes, is lying on multiple fronts. What's that supposed to mean? Good gracious, counsel. The defendant is lying, you say? In his testimony just now, he claims they failed to notice the victim's body because the room is dark. That is correct. No, that's impossible. As proven by the candelabrum. How does that prove anything? If you examine the tip of the long candle, you can see it's been blown off by a powerful impact. One would assume the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle. The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of a different length. Yes, I can see the candle appears to have been struck by the bullets long. We could reasonably expect someone to have lit all three candles together, which begs the question of why only one ended up longer than the others. That must be because a particular candle was extinguished when the others were still burning. Oh, I get what it. Yeah, we can see where he's going. That's right, when the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. But the other two would still have been burning. So the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum. Yeah, Coroner Maria Gori, because the last one, and Courtney Scythe, was arrested. Oh, look, there's no time of death listed. Yeah, the time of death is completely blank. They're only guessing based upon the witness testimonies. The victim was shot in the chest at close range, resulting in caliber of gunfire matches standard issue firearms. So, in order to do this, we need to prove that the candles burned out long before Von Zykes got there, which would mean the body would have had to been there for some time. But the other two candles would still have been burning. So Scooby-Doo Velma soon figures out everything and the monster's unmasked. The problem is we're supposed to be the one revealing what's going on here. The body should have been illuminated by light. So the fact he couldn't is a clear contradiction. And now to the next lie. There's more. The accused also claims that he never visited the scene of the crime before. But that is the truth. In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom police documents and newspaper cuttings. Yes, that's right. We saw it too. It goes thus. The contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they include a number of reports from various historical cases, the oldest of which was from 10 years ago. 10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar. And there's a common thread linking all the documents on that board. Indeed, what is the common thread, Counsel? They'll relate to cases prosecuted in court by Barak von Zykes. All of them? And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted. Oh, goodness! Interestingly, none of those defendants are alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper. Objection, we have 3 people who didn't die after being acquitted. He said that there's 19, but only 16 are dead. In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout and his base of operations. The Reaper's hideout? And yet the Reaper would claim to have never been to his own secret hideout? No one believed that. No, the truth is, we've been looking at this backwards. Backwards? Explain, Counsel. Yeah, basically he's explaining it the way we'd explain it if we were the ones trying to get someone off, so it's supposed to represent how he's normally a defense attorney, but now being a prosecutor. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. We discovered the location of the man's secret hideout. He was killed. I'm sure everyone can imagine. By the Reaper's hand. Ah! Wait, how do you bang his head against the back all the way over there and then all the way back to his desk? It's like the distance between the 2 changes. Alright, very well. I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Barak von Zykes is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret I must concur with Prosecutor Soshi's contention. The defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts. All I've done is state the truth as I know it. Cosmo's done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as defense attorney to build his prosecution case. And that's formidable. Counsel, you will submit the board that you have just showed the court as evidence. I believe it to be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence. Thank you, my lord. And now the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses who saw the events unfold that day in question. They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember. Yes, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room. Very well, lead the witnesses in. And we need to take a look at this board. Obviously, something on the back of it. Yes, as I expected, there's always something on the back that was overlooked. Oh, what's this? Mr. Naruhodo, look! Oh yes, that's a smudge of some kind. In fact, it looks just like a handprint. And the color, that's blood, isn't it? Blood, when it dries, is actually brown, not red, but most games and stories will usually treat it as if it's red, simply so that it's easier to identify. Oh dear, how disturbing. Yeah, I need to get these updated as soon as possible. There's details of a whole raft of cases dating back years here, aren't there? This is a paper from 10 years ago, browning with age, look. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. Oh, it's the same Redheaded League advertisement Mr. Sholmes picked out. And do you remember? There was a red hairpiece at the scene, too. Was Inspector Gregson an exponent to the Redheaded League, then? Where will this is? The defendant may step down from the witness stand. Certainly, my lord. So, witnesses, state your name and occupations of the court. Name viewers name, far too fancy for the likes of us. Which is free and easy, so we like, live where we want to live. Give them all a vacant stare as they walk down Fresno, spin a few words, verse for them. Would I be right in assuming that all 3 of you make your living by selling wares on the street? Yeah, everyone calls me Gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits to passers-by, you know? Jaunty little tidbits? Got an absolute smasher. Right up your original it is. 6 pence a price, not a penny less. Wait, you're actually trying to sell it to me now? Oh, come on, sir, don't tell me you're not interested. Try the man. Give the money and see what it is. Pay the man, counsel. Oh, fine, fine, 6 pence it is. Don't regret it, sir. Now, got your listening ears on. Between us, a young couple on Slay Street. That is our twins. Is that it? No, it's not it. It's gossip, isn't it? It wants to spread. But that's up to you and your mouth, of course. Got more, you know, on the juicy one? 6 pence a piece it is. You're curious. I am curious, yes, about what's going on just under that, that bottom lip of yours. Name of that unusual bruise, or whatever it is that's under your collar. What about the next witness, then? What name do you go by and what you sell? Me, I'm Venus. That's what everyone calls me. Funny, isn't it? Oh, the Red Riding Hood. I sell these little fireworks to all the local school kids. 6 pence a pop, what do you say? You weren't exaggerating with the little. Do they actually sell? Oh yeah, the second years can't get enough of my Venus firecrackers. Especially when I tell them that if they get 100, they could blow up the school. Not the most savory of ideas, young lady. What do you say then, eh? Want to borrow 6 pence pop? Wait, what? You want me to buy one? Tell you what, I'll let you in all secret. Get 100 of them, you could blow up the whole co- Try the woman. Give her the money and see if she's right. Pay the woman, counsel. Alright, fine, I'll only buy one. Lovely stuff. Right then. Something a bit extra just for you. The Venus special, only 600 pence. 600? 100 of my regular fireworks. Nothing little about that, is there? And there'd be nothing little about the punishment if I blow up the Old Bailey, either. And the last witness, what name do you go by and what do you sell? I'm a thinker, me. I think all sorts of thoughts. I think therefore I am. Oh, he's the one who was the, carriage in the first case, but he got fired after finding out he had been overcharging people. Standing on the street, watching the world go on, and they call me the Observer. Get up, man. Everyone calls you Sandwich and you know it. So, you don't actually sell anything? A problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. Take advice I do, and I think what it means. I don't actually sell anything, no. Come to think of it. Pity. No more purchases today, please. Well, we have quite a cast here, it seems. They conduct their business on Fresno Street from morning till night, my lord. It's always the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene. I see, unless they've heard the gunshot, I suppose. Not only that, but they bravely ran inside to see what was going on, and witnessed the crime. I'll be buggered, I thought, just between us. Venus de Milo, what am I to do? What a terrible thing I saw! What I think is, all we see is light and shadow playing with our eyes. Ain't it real? Very well. The court will hear the formal testimony of these 3 witnesses now. You'll describe in detail what you witnessed and heard at the time of incident. I really do like that we can process multiple witnesses at a time in this game. Previous ones always did it one at a time, which does work. I mean, we did just handle... It can work at times. I mean, we did just cross-examine Von Zykes by himself, but adding multiple people here allows more chances for chemistry, and the over-the-top characters in these games really work well when they're interacting with each other. We saw the whole thing from start to finish, we did. Everything from the moment they went in the building. It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside, we all heard the big bang. Seems to me that quick to talk is quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait and go to see what happened. I ran to the room and there he was, the Reaper gun in hand, standing over a dead body. I was scared after death of me, so I ran off to find a copper. If these witnesses were there the whole day and saw everything, who did they see going inside the building? Only the victim, Inspector Gregson, and the accused. Who's Vera Von Zykes. I was seeing pictures of that Reaper in the paper. I know what he looks like. How to put iPhone-style earbuds in my ear backwards? That is a good question. And just between us, folks love stories like this. Made himself a tidy sum already. But wait, the room is just one of several flats in the building. Someone from another flat could have also gone in there. All those flats on Fresno Street are unoccupied. Of course they are. They're small, damp, dirty, and expensive to boot. The room in which the inspector was found is the only property in the building that had currently been leased. And we know the leaseholder's name, don't we? It's Hugh Boone. So yeah, basically, As far as we can tell, this Hugh Boone is an alias. The testimony the court has just heard would appear to leave little room for doubt. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see how anyone other than the defendant could have committed the crime. Oh no. Thank you for your candor, my lord. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed to cross-examine the witnesses. Yes, my lord. In a closed court like this without a jury, the judge is the only person whose opinion matters. I have to break down this testimony. Somehow. The witness's account. We told the whole thing from start to finish, we did. Oh yeah, Mr. Jazz, first name Hugh. I didn't think of that one. When I first saw it, I made the joke Hugh Man. Guess I was too busy thinking of the Futurama episode.
Hold it!
Alright, so when you say they, who do you mean exactly? Inspector Gregson and the defendant, or... I suppose the likes of us don't know the names of the high and mighty. I'll tell you one thing. There's the old Reaper that went last, that's for sure and certain. So, just behind Inspector Gregson, did they arrive at the same time as each other? Oh, no, not at all. First fellow must have gone inside a good 15 minutes before we heard the gunshot. Victim arrived 15 minutes before, are you sure about that? Sure, am I sure? Doesn't seem likely I'd have forgotten a fellow with bright red hair like that, does it? Yeah, his hair really were red, weren't it? Redder than any flaming fireworks, even. That fire red mop's still burnt on the inside of my eyelids, it is. Wait a minute. You're saying the man was a redhead? Weren't you listening, chum? Aye, he was a redhead. And a big trunk with him as well. Inspector Gregson's hair isn't red. Not by any stretch of the imagination. It seems like the person you saw wasn't in fact Inspector Gregson at all. But some other third party. No, I hate to break it to you, but the witnesses are correct. Wait, what? Just have a look at this photograph of the victim taken at the scene. Oh, yes, that's Inspector Gregson, all right. And a red hairpiece. Ah, of course, we saw one on the floor when we investigated the scene, didn't we? I still refuse to believe Inspector Gregson wore a hairpiece, though. So then why on earth would he have been wearing something like that? The color does seem to suit the man, one might say. This photograph will be submitted as evidence. Please, counsel? And what became of the trunk that the red-headed victim supposedly was carrying? I was informed that no trunk was found at the scene, so it just disappeared. Well, expect us to watch the building every second, do ya? We definitely saw him in the dock going in, though. No question about that. Less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside, we all heard a big bang. Alright, by which presumably you mean the gunshot? I see all these little things, don't I? How big would I know what a how would I know what a gunshot sounds like? I always thought it probably sounded a bit like this, doesn't it? And you say that you heard the noise almost as soon as you saw the defendant enter the building. That's right, it was almost straight away. Bang, it went. Just like that. Oh, he's a Reaper, isn't he? Isn't he what the French call, hey, accompli? When the Reaper's around, people are going on the ground. That's what he does, isn't it? I think we get the message. The Reaper couldn't allow the inspector to live after he discovered his secret hideout. There can be no clear motive for the crime. Certainly is eminently incredible motive. Great. At that point, you ran inside, is that correct? Seems to me that quick to walk is quick to talk. Gossip couldn't wait and see what happened. So, when Gossip ran to see what happened, did you go too? Well, me, I'm a bit hampered, see? All the signs of that I couldn't move very well. You were way behind then, presumably, with that sandwich board around your neck and the big sign in your hand? What a great burden you bear. Pardon me for asking, Mr. Sandwich, but is it possible you and I have met before? I'm not anybody me. The signs are what make me who I am now. I signed them for I am. So you weren't employed as an omnibus driver just under a year ago, then? I might be mistaken, but I believe his trembling has intensified, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, I agree. He's clearly been through a lot. Turn down King Henry Street. Black Widower's arms are just there. Oh dear, you've made him hide behind a sign. Life is full of surprises. You did the thing where he... Open the door, can see, and shut the freaking point blank. I don't know. There's a lot going on here, and it's definitely going to be way deeper than it looks at the surface after... I ran through, and there he was, the Reaper, gun in hand, standing on the body. So then you were the first person to arrive on the scene, is that correct? Is that correct? That I was. Kicked the door right open like a professional, I did. Yelled out, "What's going on here?" Lord Van Zyke claims all he heard was a man scream, though. It was dark inside. Was it dark inside the room? No, not dark at all. There were candles burning on the wall. Really? And there was a fella collapsed on the floor. Just we know, it's the first thing I noticed when I got inside. I see. Even though Von Zyke claims not to have seen any such lights on the wall, next thing I noticed was someone standing right beside the body. The accused, Barrack Von Zyke. That's right, the pale-faced Reaper himself. I was a little shocked, I won't deny it. I'm no lily-livered coward. I stood my ground and gave the Reaper a cold, hard stare myself.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to add, Mr. Sandwich? There's really nothing to me. Empty in the head I am, just 2 slices with no middle. So I don't know what you could want with me. I think that maybe you just remembered something. After all, having heard Mr. Gossip's last statement, I mean. What I think is we're all nothings really. We try to dress ourselves up as something else, but at the end of the day, we're all just street sellers. That's enough out of you, Sandwich. Kind, keep your trap shut now. Unless you want us to make you into a real sandwich. When he saw the Reaper, he fell clean over on his backside. That's it. Oh, you rotten beggar, I told you to keep that a secret. He screamed he did, screamed and scrambled off on all 4s. That's all I wanted to say. Mr. Gossip, is this true? The floor's dead slippery, that's why. Planted my hand on a filthy pool of blood, didn't I? Wait, a pool of blood? Listen here, even when I was sprawled on the floor, still giving the Reaper a cool hard stare, don't you forget it. Let's just go back a little. Did you say you got blood on your hand? I did, happens to the best of us at times, it does. I was so scared I slipped over. We can keep it between us, can't we? No, Mr. Gossip. I'm gonna have to ask you to add that information to your formal testimony. Oh, if I must. Witness will amend his testimony and include the aforementioned details at once. Slipped over and got blood in my hand, so I quickly wiped it off on the floor.
Hold it!
You wiped your hand on the floor. Well, who wants blood in his hand, eh? Horrible stuff. And they might have thought I'd done it. No. And you didn't think that might be a problem. Doesn't really matter if I left a few grubby handprints on the floor. They'll cleaned up in the end, won't they? Don't make such a fuss. That's a message from all of us. Is something wrong, Counsel? No, my lord. I didn't remember anything in the report about a bloody handprint on the floor, that's all. Yeah, because it was left on the board. Don't come out with all that. You can't intimidate me. I know what I did. I wiped it off on the floor, the blood. I wonder, could that be what happened? Mr. Naruhodo? I don't have all the answers yet, but I think we may have just uncovered a vital clue. I was scared after death, so So you didn't run into the room with your friends, is that correct? I'm not that sort of girl. I'm sorry? I'm a timid little thing, me. I was too scared to go in there. Ah, I see. Oh, Lippy and the witch ran in there when I heard a sort of old lady scream. Well, that wasn't me, I swear. If I were a gentleman, I'd stake my honor on it. I wonder what on earth is going on. Which is when you went to find a policeman. And I ran into a cop as soon as I turned the corner. So I brought him straight back to the place. Didn't I do well, eh? Just we know as that cop's eyes nearly popped out of his head when he saw the Reaper. I've never felt more uncomfortable in all my life. And the defendant was arrested on the spot, I believe. Considering the catalog of killings were carried out, it is a particularly inconspicuous end. If I can't find any holes in this testimony, I'm afraid the judge will give a ruling of guilty, Mr. Naruto. Truth is, though, their combined testimony is fairly damning. Unfortunately, there don't seem to be any obvious problems with their statements, do there? Still, if Von Zykes really is innocent, then I'm almost certain we'll have to find something in there that doesn't quite add up. You don't think one of these three could be the true culprit, do you? I don't know, but what I do know is there's more of this case than is yet to be brought to light.
Objection!
Bloody handprint is on the side of this. Alright, so you wiped the blood off from your hand on the floor of the room. Are you quite sure about that? Well, what else do you expect me to have done, eh?
Objection!
The police found no such handprint on the floor during their investigations. What exactly is the defense asserting?
Objection!
If you listen, you'll find out. Prosecutor Sogi. Certainly, there was no bloody handprint found on the floor. What are you trying to say? There was a handprint of blood left very clearly at the scene, on the back of this notice board. Yes, indeed. Indisputably a handprint of the distinctive colored blood. Oh, you're dead right, that's my right hand. I'd know it anywhere.
Objection!
The witness very definitely testified that he wiped his hand on the floor. Any handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant. Handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant. Not if the board itself had fallen over to the floor. In that case, it's quite possible the witness's handprint to have ended up on there. Just look at the floor plan of the room. The notice board was in the opposite corner of the room to the victim, in an upright position. Even if it somehow toppled and was lying on the floor at the time, it would have been a considerable distance from the body. I fell over when I came across the body, so I was basically right next to the corpse. Not on the other side of the entire room. In other words, the defense's assertion is contradictory. Yes, it is. There's a very definite contradiction here, for which there must be a reason. I take it you formulated a proper hypothesis, counsel, regarding this apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and the handprint found at the scene. I have, my lord. The discrepancy between the witness's account and the location of the handprint is explained by... There's no other handprint here, is there? Let me check. There is no other handprint at the scene. They directly said the police there. Yeah, there's no handprint anywhere here in the blood. Sort of a banger to make. Can't find anything out of place. Interesting. It doesn't even allow me to... Oh, it allows me to examine this part. Have you an idea, Mr. Naruhodo? You're staring at the end of string of fireworks. Sorry, it's just that it's the Venus special. I was wondering what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like. Shall we find out? What? But she said I could blow up the courtroom. Bang. Alright, that was a fairly sizable bang. My ears are still ringing, Mr. Naruhodo. It sounded almost exactly like a gunshot. So someone purchased the firecracker and had it set off. Wait. So, there's no other handprint, so it can't be this. It can't be false testimony, because the entire point of this is... The entire point here is that neither Von Zykes nor the witnesses are lying, which means the board has to be moved. The real contradiction here is the handprint itself, not where it was found. As the court can see, it's upside down. Good gracious, so it is! If the witness had put his hand against the board, the finger should be pointing upward. What does this tell us? It tells us one simple fact. that when this handprint was made, the board must have been lying on the floor as I suggested, which means that after the incident, it must have been moved. What?
Objection!
You're claiming that somebody moved the notice board after the shooting? Then tell the court who. Oh, I don't know that yet, but the point is, when you consider all the testimony we've heard so far, we can now be very clear on one point. And what would that be? The position of the notice board at the time of the incident, my lord. So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court. At the time of the incident, where you maintain the notice board was situated. This is a bit tough. It's obviously not here. It has to be somewhere near the body. But does it want me to say near the candlelights? Because it could have been blocking the candles. Or does it want it to be here where the blood is?
Take that!
It was right here, my lord. Goodness. No, I'm afraid I don't quite see your logic. I'm disappointed, Rhino Skate. In Japan, we're taught to have patience and respect for our elders. So until his lordship sees your logic, you will know your place and not move from the spot. How brilliant of him. That almost sounded unreasonable at first, but he was just thinking of you. Unreasonable? Try and fathomable. Anyway, I think I have the answer now. I know my place, or rather, the board's place.
Take that!
This is the only possible location. Immediately adjacent to the doorway. If the court would think back to the testimony given by the defendant earlier, he said that when he entered the room, it was dark, and he couldn't see the body. Why heck? If the notice board had been there, the body would have been completely hidden from view. And the light from the candles would have been blocked, making the room appear darker.
Objection.
But the accused also claims that the victim's body simply appeared before him. That's true. Or rather, in his precise words, just as I picked up the firearm to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. I don't know about calling it a scream, but he was talking about me, that's no mistake. Because it was me that kicked the door open. And if you look again at the floor plan, yeah, he knocked it over when he kicked it open. Consider what would happen if the door of the room was thrown open with force. That can't. The door struck the notice board, knocking it over, and making the victim's body visible. Good gracious! My client has told nothing but the truth. He simply described what he saw. Ha. Order, order! Counsel, how has this not come to light before now? After the incident, somebody must have righted the board and moved it into the position where the police, myself, and my colleagues saw it when investigating the room. Witness, what have you to say for yourself? Oh, May, my lord. You and your fellows were there at the scene before anybody else. It goes without saying that you must know something about the position of the notice board. The witnesses in the stand will testify again. You will each explain exactly what you did upon arriving at the scene of the crime. Hey man, stop looking over your glasses at me, I get the message. History of the moving board. I don't know anything about their notice board, just wipe my hand on it, that's all. Well, don't look at me, I haven't gotten a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just sign the crossroads of life. It was that Reaper. I bet he's got a face that screams bored. I can't say how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. So none of you can elaborate further. Shaken by the crime they witnessed, and with only light of a few candles and an oil lamp by which to see. We can expect these witnesses to be able to give a more precise account of what happened. We can't expect them to be able to give a more precise account. That's right, yeah, I didn't expect to pay too much. It's man's endless quest for knowledge that's destroying the world. That's what I think. Do you really? In any case, as this testimony shows, even if the notice board was moved by somebody following the incident, it makes no difference. When the gunshot rang out, the accused was the only person at the scene. In short, the only person who could possibly have committed this crime is Barak von Zykes. None of this wrangling over the board changes the simple fact. Quite so, quite so. Does the defense still wish to cross-examine the witnesses despite the circumstances? Most certainly, my lord. Very well, then you may proceed, counsel. Cross-examination. The mystery of the moving board. I know anything about their notice board. I just wiped my hand out, that's all. So you admit it was the board you wiped your bloody hand on. Admit it? What's to admit? It's plain as day for all to see. Smashing print of my right hand. Perhaps you wanted to hide the handprint? So you raided the notice board and pushed it into the corner, did you? No. Imagine the weight of that great lump. You look like a powerful, well-nurtured man. Well, do you see anybody else moving the board? I got nerve of steel, I can tell you. He still has a weird mark on his neck, and there's no way that would be there without being important. Even I have my limits. The body was in front of me, and the Grim Reaper himself standing over it. There was precious little light inside either. My bottom lip was all in quiver. In other words, this witness is unable to give a definitive testimony on that point. Yes, so it would seem. Well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time. So when you say you were doing business with them, you mean you were selling them fireworks, is that correct? Yeah, what else? There's the Priory School just around the corner, see? Those cheeky little so-and-sos have got a plan to blow their school to kingdom come. Huh. So I've been telling on them, letting their teachers know what they've been up to. Oh, so you have, then? Yeah, I wouldn't want anyone to get hurt, so I let the school know the kids are playing with dodgy toys. Then, the teachers take all the fireworks off them. And then, praise again, the kids all come back to buy more. Everyone's happy, see? What a racket. Of course. And sometimes teachers give me a little bonus to thank me for letting them know. It's a busy old life selling explosives. Venus is a guileful goddess indeed. Well, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing. Really. I'm ever so good at it.
Excuse me.
Is something wrong, Mr. Sandwich? If I said it was, could we just leave it at that? Would that be the end of it? No. Did Miss Venus's statement just now bring something to your mind, perhaps? Philosophical thoughts. Deep philosophical thoughts. Let's say there was a great liar, and that great liar said without batting an eye, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing, I'm ever so good at it. Would those words of hers be a lie too, or the truth? In which case, she's not a liar. Ooh, it's a hellish paradox, that one, don't you think? Oh crap, that's one of those one person only tells the truth, one person only tells lies puzzles. Not entirely sure, to be honest, but it seems to me you're suggesting Miss Venus has been lying, are you? Oh, what are you on about, old man? Trying to cause trouble, are you? Keep on like that. And I'll have to wrap your whole body in firecrackers and set them off. That'll give you something to tremble about. You have a startlingly disturbing mind by that sweet and innocent faced young lady. So Miss Venus had lied in her testimony, is that what you're saying, Mr. Sandwich? Well, if it means I'll be burning in hellfire for the rest of my days, so be it. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Can you elaborate, please, sir? Old Blabbermouth here is headed for the room where the gunshots seemed to come from. But there was someone else who crept up the stairs behind him, too. That's right. That rotten liar over there. So the order in which they came in the room was different. Do you mean to say that you did, in fact, the crime scene after all? What'd I tell you, eh? I said I was good at telling barefaced lies, didn't I? Yes, you mentioned. Well, that revelation rocked the whole courtroom, didn't it? Who knew firecrackers packed such a punch? So you did indeed visit the scene of the crime, did you, young lady? Good grief. Well, now you come to mention it. I suppose perhaps... I do clearly remember climbing the stairs of the room, yeah. Either you clearly remember it or you don't. Well, I shall consider a fitting punishment for this perjurous act later. For the time being, you will immediately amend your testimony to reflect the truth. Oh, yes, my lord, of course. Maybe I did sneak alongside behind Gossip and have a little peek in the room where it all happened. So, you make a habit of lying, do you, Miss Venus? Well, I suppose so. I don't really know, to be fair. For my advice, though, I'd take everything I say with a big pinch of salt. Alright, but you did in fact go into the room where the victim was killed on the day in question, didn't you? Oh, please, as if I would. I can't think of anything more terrifying. The truth, please. Well, alright, just a bit then. I mean, a girl my age is curious about the stuff you know. Did you touch anything at all at the scene? Oh, please, as if I would. I mean, there's a dead body on the floor. The truth, please. Oh, well, alright, just a bit then. I had to look to see if there's anything I could sell. Tried to give the place a once-over, but it was nothing to write home about. Right. Now, I hesitate to ask, but... you didn't move the notice board by any chance, did you? Oh, please, as if I would touch anything like that. Just if it's a loose change all I had. The truth, please. Alright, then. I thought there might be something worth having underneath it. So I blasted the flippin' thing. Sorry, flipped the blasted thing. You're telling us you did move the board! I think that did slip out, didn't it? What? You daft! I don't believe it. The girl doesn't think. Yeah, it's because she's clearly not a very trustworthy witness, so we have to press her hard to make her tell what we need to know. So, did you find anything? Was there something you might have taken, perhaps? Sell? Oh, please, I should be so lucky. My imagination. The truth. Now. Alright, I might have found this old pocket watch on the notice board, I suppose. But a bit of junk like this can't be worth much if you... Ah! So it was you, was it? You were the one who took it. Gina? Young lady, may I remind you where you are? That watch there. That was President Inspector Gregson from the yard, for a big case he solved 10 years ago. Professor case, no doubt. The boss used to wind up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come to the pub. I see. I swapped it off him once, and blimey, he was upset, gave me a right earful. Said he hadn't missed a day the last 10 years, polishing it, winding it. I mean, it meant the world to him, that watch did. Possibly not the best thing to go diving for, then. It's not all that, though. I took it to Jabs that night to see how much it was worth. The old dealer wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't give me a penny for it. Said it wasn't working. Knocked him out worthless, he called it. We need that in witness right now, because the odds are that stopped at the true time of death. I knew I should have lifted it. Because, where's the autopsy report? Here it is. Remember, the time of death is not marked. We don't know when he was actually killed, so if that watch stopped at the time of his actual death, that's a huge break in this case. That watch must be submitted evidence at once. Oh, please, just so long as you promise to give it back when we're done. Not a chance, I'll swap it from you if you try to get your grubby mitts on it again. That is enough. Hand the watch to the bailiff forthwith. Now, children, watch your manners. Oh, goodness. The glass appears to be broken. More than likely it shattered when the inspector was shot. Doesn't tick anymore either. Which is why Jabez didn't want it. What a waste, huh? The pawnbroker wouldn't take it because it was broken. And yes, indeed, it appears to have stopped at the hour of 5. Exactly when the gunshot was heard then. Which supports the prosecution's claim, of course. Of course, something to note. There are two. Remember, remember the saying: a broken clock is right twice a day. So in that case, it may not have been done at 5 p.m. It could have been at 5 a.m. because remember, this is an analog clock. It does not have AM or PM listed on it. Well, it would appear the mystery of the moving notice board has been solved at last. And as predicted, it had very little bearing on the case. Now then, continue with your cross-examination, please, counsel.
Hold it!
Oh, but you did go to see what happened in the room, didn't you? Alright, let me just check out the pocket watch real quick. Yeah, the glass over the face is really badly cracked, look. What a shame, the inspector clearly looked after it so carefully. I imagine Mr. Sholmes could repair it, don't you? Yes, I should think so. He's very adept at things like this. A useful man to have around, in fact. But kindly remember he's a great detective, Mr. Naruhodo, not an odd job man. Oh, there's a tiny little stub sticking out from the small hole here, look. I suppose there must have been a little knob here or something that was used for setting the time. In that case, seeing as how we know the inspector took such great care of the watch, it probably broke off when the incident occurred, didn't it? Yes, of course. Which could mean that there's a small part of the watch still at the scene, maybe. That's where the key goes. That's a tiny little keyhole here, can you see? Oh yes, that's probably for the winder used to wind up the mechanism. It looks a little unusual, don't you think? Yeah, you'd need the right key to wind it, I imagine. Why do I feel as though I've seen something a bit like a key that's about the right size to fit this hole? It'd be wonderful if we had the key. Let's check carefully what we've already found. Alright, this is a key that uses... Yep, there is a key. Here it is. Miss Usato, do you think perhaps this key could be the key for the Inspector Gregson's watch? Oh, yes, it could be. Let's try it at once. There's not a moment to lose. I knew it. A perfect fit. And look, the Inspector's watch has started moving again. Ah, it obviously just not been wound up, that's all. Oh, what is it, Miss Usato? Well, if the watch isn't actually broken after all, I feel it could have formed profound implications. She's deep in thought now. Perhaps I'd better start thinking deeply, too. You didn't see what happened in the room, didn't you? Fresno Street's my whole world. It's all I know. All I know of it. I have to make it my business to know if I want to hold my sign up high. So you did go to see what happened. It's not the destination's important, it's how you get there, isn't it? Did you notice the notice board in the room? If you think about it, we're both the same species, aren't we? Both different members of the sign family. So if I'd spotted it, I might have tried to tip it up out of the sense of rivalry, I admit. Someone really needs to tell you that you're Homo sapiens, not Homo sinians. Does that mean that you didn't notice the board? I can only repeat what I said before. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just a sign on the crossroads of life. In which case, just who was responsible for moving the notice board? Where's the Reaper, I bet? He's got a face that screams bored. I can't see how this changed anything anyway. The detective still died while we heard the gunshot. Alright, so there's two things I could possibly try and present here. I just need to figure out which the game wants from me. Now, the main one is I could show the firework to show that simulates a gunshot, and the other word is the pocket watch itself, which I think is the case, because that was what we spent this whole time trying to prove, that the watch could still move. So, let's go with that.
Objection!
Yep, I got it. I'm afraid that's not necessarily the case. Oh? At the scene, we found this key to the winder of the inspector's pocket watch. A key? And having wound the pocket watch, we discovered that it in fact still works. You see, the watch didn't stop because it was broken at all. And that fact completely undermines one of the most fundamental premises which this case has been built. What? Order. But counsel, the watch stopped at almost exactly 5 o'clock. Yeah, which is when we heard that gunshot. It is exactly that one. The time that was showing on the watch tells us nothing other than when it wound down. It is merely a coincidence that it happened to be at 5 o'clock. Even if that's true, the 3 witnesses here all heard the gunshot at 5 o'clock. That's obviously when the crime was committed. No, that doesn't hold. Why not? Recall what Inspector Lestrade said only moments ago. Boss used to wind up every evening without fail when he's waiting for his grub to come at the pub. He said he hasn't missed a day in the last 10 years, polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him. That watch did. The victim was in the habit of winding his watch once a day, in the evening. We can reasonably assume, therefore, that he wound the timepiece in the evening before he died as well. Yes, that would be entirely reasonable. But if that's the case, you wouldn't expect the watch to have completely wound down by 5 o'clock the following day. Oh, wow, you explain it then. In summary, the evening before the day of the incident, when the gunshot rang out in that room, and the inspector was already unable to wind his watch. You can't mean... What would stop a man from winding his watch if he'd been in the habit of doing it every single evening for 10 years? The obvious answer is that he was already dead. Order! A counsel! That's a most extraordinary claim!
Objection.
Extraordinary is the word, it's absurd. You claim he was already dead the night before. Do you really think Scotland Yard's coroner would have overlooked something like that? On that subject, there is something rather surprising. There's actually an omission from the coroner's report. The time of death is not noted. That's right. But wait a minute. You're forgetting my legs not under me when I kick the door in. What do you mean? Like I said, I planted my hand on the dirty, great puddle of blood. Yes. So the victim's blood hadn't dried. It was fresh. It's on bad, doesn't he? But the blood could be explained a number of ways. It could have been put there afterwards. Fresh blood could have been poured over the victim's body. Does my learned friend think that fresh blood is available on every street corner? Well, it needn't necessarily have been human blood, of course. We've been told previously that Scotland Yard has no way to identify blood as human. The problem is currently being researched. At present, you are correct. It is beyond our abilities. So then, a chicken's blood could have been used, for example. It's certainly a possibility that it wasn't the inspector's at all.
Objection.
But the gunshot was heard at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, that's beyond question. Is it, though? What? Given that at the time of death the victim has already been called into question, isn't it beyond the realms of possibility that what these 3 witnesses heard wasn't a gunshot at all? Oh please, what are you trying to say? I wasn't unaware it was a loud bang. And now you listen to me, a street seller's ears are his livelihood. I don't doubt your ears, sir, but all you can state with certainty is that you heard a noise. Explain yourself then, counsel. A noise that sounds like a gunshot could have been made with... Exactly.
Take that!
Something like this. The culprit could have set off one of those to fake a gunshot. Oh, good gracious, the very fireworks that are sold by the witness? Now, hold on a minute, you saying I did it? Just my pretty little firecrackers only make a little pop anyway, see? Not 100 of them together. The Venus Special you sell for 600 pennies sounds like this. As the court can now attest, it sounds very much like a gunshot, in fact. You're trying to suggest that somebody set one of those fireworks off the scene. I'm suggesting that somebody knew the defendant was in the room at 5 that day and sought to implicate him by creating a sound like the gunshot for those peddlers at Fresno Street to hear. Or could they have set them off in the courtroom? But even the accused himself testified he saw no one else in the room at the time. Yeah. Yeah, they do a lot of really weird stuff in the courtroom that wouldn't normally fly, but that's part of the appeal of the series. Everyone's just really over the top with everything. But yeah, when we do an examination like this, it seems to be in its own pocket dimension, so when we set it off here, no one else in the courtroom heard. Now, something like us taking a look at the evidence here, like taking this policeman figure and attaching it to the watch here, we could reasonably assume that we did that without anyone else noticing, because this is some minor. But setting off the firework to here, that's a gunshot that I guess the evidence examination happens in some kind of pocket dimension, because I'm not sure how no one else heard it. But even the accused himself testified they had no one else in the room at the time. Well, there's a gunfire or firecracker, the only person present to cause the bang was Van Zykes. One whiff of a match and my firecrackers go pop. See, that's why people like them. My fear for your fingers, young lady. Recently, during my time here in Britain, I've learned of a very useful invention indeed. Something called a time bomb. Oh, good heavens, a bomb. Yes, a device that allows you to blow up whatever you like, whenever you'd like. Miss Naruhodo, I worry that your unfortunate phrasing there may lead to yet another international incident. Yikes, no, wait. It's the whenever you like part that's important. A time device? Yes, that's what I'm getting at, a time device. Something of that nature could have been planted at the scene. A device that was able to produce the sound of a gunshot long after the culprit had left. Your extravagant claim will have to be substantiated with evidence, counsel. What proof do you have that suggests in any way a time device was employed to create the gunshot sound? Gregson's own pocket watch, because remember, if he was already dead, this would be perfect for that. You're suggesting this could have been used as some sort of time delay device? I did think so, my lord. But it's becoming increasingly clear that we've all been very misguided here. Yes, by you. No, counsel, the time has come for a penalty, without delay. So he didn't use Gregson's pocket watch for it. Oh, the candles. Oh, no time to clear the area before the blast. What proof do you have to suggest the time device was employed to create the gunshot sound? Oh, the fire.
Take that!
As the court has already discussed, the tip of one of the candles in this candelabrum has been blown off. Indeed, because it was struck by the bullet, which presumably passed to the victim. I don't think that's possible, my lord. Not possible? Why? Because of the scorching. There are gunpowder scorch marks clearly visible on the broken candle. There are. Oh goodness, yes. But if that's not the case, then there was also scorching on the victim around the bullet entry wound. That's right, there was. But as we heard earlier, scorching like that only occurs when the target is at very close range, a matter of centimeters from the gun. Ah. Which means that the scorching on the candle can't possibly be the result of a gunshot. So you're suggesting it came from the fireworks? How can that be? The fact there's such visible scorching on the candle suggests that the fireworks must have been right next to it when they exploded. Or to put another way, the candle and the firecrackers were joined together. The culprit somehow attached the fireworks at a point partway down the candle. After the killer had left the scene, the candle slowly burned down along with the other two, until eventually it ignited the fuse and the firecrackers generating a loud bang. And that's how these three witnesses came to believe they'd heard a gunshot at 5 o'clock. How do you attach 100 firecrackers to a candle? It depends if it's literally 100 or if it's just supposed to be the firecrackers with the power of 100. Because if it's just one of those, because there are a number of fireworks, because obviously fireworks come in a bunch of different magnitudes of strength. Well, what a plot. And this implies the victim could have died earlier than we've been led to believe. A previous day, even. Now, hold your horses. A lot of us here saw the victim go in the building, remember? forget that flame-colored hair, even if I wanted to. The person you saw entering the building wasn't the victim at all. Consider this. Ah. Obviously, anybody can wear a wig, so the person who witnesses saw entering the building 15 minutes before the incident occurred could easily have been someone else entirely, wearing the red hairpiece, especially since they said they don't know Gregson personally, so it would be easy to impersonate him. So it was the same person who contrived the firecracker trick. In other words, Inspector Gregson's actual killer. Oh, oh, very impressive, Rhino Skate, Naruhodo. Kazuma? Really quite impressed you've come this far. But after all, wasn't I the one who told you that you had all the markings of a great defense lawyer? Uh-huh. I also noted the lack of time of death in this report. A stark omission. But as far as I'm concerned, this whole country's justice system leaves a lot to be desired. Order, order, order. Prosecutor Sogi, what on earth do you mean by that statement? I hear that mainly the leading members of Britain's judiciary are present to observe today's trial, so we cannot allow even the slightest doubt to be overlooked. The defense's assertion of the time of death based on the victim's stopwatch is just a conjecture. But while the possibility does exist, my learned friend may be correct, we do have a duty to explore it. Well, certainly, I would agree with you. And what immediately comes to mind is, of course, what was Inspector Gregson doing and where did he go on the day before the incident? Do you know? The inspector always carried out investigative work alone. His movements were treated as confidential within the Scotland Yard. Even within the yard? However, considering as evidence we've been presented with so far, I'd say it's fairly apparent that what case the man was pursuing, wouldn't you, my learned friend? I do have a feeling about what case he might have been investigating. Yes, I agree. Surely. The lore of the defense believes it can explain to the court the case that's been investigated by Inspector Gregson at the time of his death. Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. What evidence is there suggesting the case being investigated by Gregson?
Take that!
I can't say I find your answer suggestive of anything in particular. Other than perhaps it is utterly wrong. That much you've clarified most expertly. Congratulations, Rhino Skate, Naruto. You deserve the reward for that expert display. Okay, I'm supposed to show the wig. Did you just draw a Kurama on me, my friend? I think, Mr. Naruhodo, there's one particular piece of evidence that really does stand out showing the case he was investigating. The red hair.
Take that!
I believe this red hairpiece points to the answer. We might assume that it was part of a disguise used to carry out an undercover investigation. Surely not. Such a brightly covered hairpiece would only serve to make the inspector more noticeable. Yes, that's quite true. It would definitely have made him stand out in a crowd, except that is, in a crowd of gentlemen from the Redheaded League. The Redheaded League? So you'd already worked it out. What on earth is this all about? Is there such an extraordinary league of gentlemen? Yeah, I can't get that literary reference past me. The Redheaded League is currently under investigation for a grand deception. A deception of what nature, counsel? They've been targeting red-headed men across London and tricking them out of small sums of money. 2 men were arrested for the misdemeanor only yesterday, in fact. My lord, the defense calls for those 2 men to be summoned at once. 2 redheads? Inspector Gregson clearly infiltrated the Redheaded League using this hairpiece, so it's likely he had direct contact with these criminals. And it's quite possible such contact led to more serious events. I concur that we cannot in good conscience leave this avenue unexplored. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, it's another possible line of inquiry for us, at least. Prosecution will take immediate arrangements for the charged men to appear. Bring these 2 Redheaded League conspirators to me, Prosecutor Sogi. At once, my lord. Very good, we'll have 30-minute recess. Court is adjourned. Ah, excellent. A good checkpoint, I think. I've got a lot planned for the later half of this month, so I may make a brief hiatus on this game to do a couple seasonal specials, so to speak. I don't mind if this one or one of them goes into November, so these will all be completed, rest assured, but I'll see how this case is going. If generally the final cases in an Ace Attorney game are very long, so if this one takes an especially long time, I may take a quick break before the final one for the purposes of the next game I want to get done. I at least want to get started before the end of the month, so we can look forward to that. Until next time, thank you for watching. Hope you had a good time. I save my VODs for as long as Twitch allows, so if you ever need them, they'll be there. Or if you want to see some of my older VODs, I have a link to my YouTube page in my About page here on Twitch, so you can check it out there. All right, thank you, and I'll see you next time.